Hey, it's Jamie Moore here. You're on the Off the Ball League of Ireland podcast with you every Wednesday. And if you're listening to the podcast and you'd like to watch the interviews, they're all on youtube.com/off the ball. Very happy to welcome the Dundalk first team coach John Gill to the studio. Giller, how are you?
Hi, Jamie. How are things? Good.
Good yourself?
Good.
Thank you for coming in. Overall, you're a couple of months into your time now at Dundalk. How have you found things being back in a kind of full-time setup, having left your job and gone back to only football?
It's been good. It's been a difficult last couple of weeks, but I mean, it's been good. We've had a difficult time with injuries, but listen, it's a great environment, great group of players, really top-notch group of players and staff. Club is in a good place. It's been really enjoyable.
I was just having a read before you came in about your first spell there from 2005 to 2008. You're smiling. Dave, is there a photo there of John in his sunglasses? I think you used to be a very stylish League of Ireland manager back then. We're just going to have a look now on the screen. There you go, John. Look to your left there. Very stylish, younger League of Ireland manager. Tell me about your time there, because it was a great time.
Yeah, it was. Took over in 2006, Jamie. Club was at a low ebb at that stage. Had been 7 years in the first division. Had tried a couple of experienced managers before that. Jim Gannon actually was the previous incumbent before me. Trevor Anderson, I think before him, and they had tried to get out of that division for a number of years. I took over in 2006, and that was the famous year that Mark McCann barricaded himself into the previous FAI's offices in Marion Square.
Yeah,
I was going to burn the place down. We had a very good season that year. We lost my first 4 games. Won the 5th. After the 4th game, I think there was people calling for me head at that stage, but we went on a 27-game unbeaten run. Then Rovers won the league by a point that year, beat us by a point. We then were forced to play 3 games in 6 days by the FAI. We went down to play Finn Harps on a Saturday night, and it was postponed. We got down there. They said the game had to be played on the Sunday, so we had to stay overnight. Played Finn Harps on the Sunday, beat them, and we then had to play Waterford in a 2-legged playoff on the Tuesday and the Friday. We drew the game. We drew the game in Oriel. I think it was 1-0. Beat them down there. 2 Trevor Vaughan goals down in RSC. We all thought we were promoted, but that was the famous year of the AIG. Remember they were reconfiguring, and to our surprise, Galway, who finished 4th in the division, got promoted, and we were told we had to stay in the wilderness in the first division, which upset an awful lot of people, including myself and the players. It obviously certainly upset Maxie. He took it on himself I was actually down the country and working at the time, and I got a phone call from the police. Had to get a police escort back to Dublin because he wanted to speak to me and John Delaney.
Okay.
But listen, good times. It was a difficult time because we felt we should have got promoted. Following year we were beaten in the playoff. And then the following year, more drama. We won the league in injury. We won it. Shells gave away a goal in injury time. We won our game down in Kildare and we got promoted. And then 3 weeks later, I lost my job. So,
what's the story with the police escort and coming back to meet Maxie and John Delaney?
Well, seemingly, Maxie asked. He wanted to speak to me and John Delaney for some reason. I was down in actually Portlaoise at the time. Got a phone call from a chief superintendent, John Toomey, who was actually based in Store Street. Asked me where I was. Got a bit of a fright initially at the start because you don't know.
The police ring you?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know family and he said, no, listen, told me, read out what happened. He didn't want me driving back, so they sent a squad car to meet me. One of the policemen got in my car, I got in the back of the squad car, and 2 motorbikes. We hightailed it back to Dublin. Actually, an adventure, and at breathtaking speed, and proceeded then to try and talk Maxie down. John didn't obviously want to speak to him. He sent out a guy, Pat Costello. I think you remember
Pat Costello, yeah.
I think he's involved with
Cabinteely, yeah.
Good lad, Pat. And myself and Pat had to try and talk Mark down because he had barricaded himself in with a young, God love her, a secretary, the young 23-year-old girl. It was very, very tough. I don't think she didn't work again after that, I don't think. But he had poured a gallon of petrol all over the offices, and it was a scary time. Like it could have ended in tragedy. In the end, you managed to. Yeah, and Mark got a 3-year holiday after that in Loughlin House in Cavan. He was jailed for 3 years, but we did talk him down. There was an awful lot of resentment up in Dundalk the way we were treated, including from myself. It was very, very poorly the way it was handled, in my view. I mean, why make you play? Why did they make us play a play? My argument was, why make us play 3 games in 6 days? You know, player welfare. You know, the expense of it. What was the point of having a playoff? And it was a bitter pill to swallow. Took a lot to come back from that. Following year again, beaten in the playoff. That was difficult. Deservedly beaten in the playoff by Finn Harps. That was the year they went up. And then the following year, I think we deserved. We were on top of the league all the way through. Had a bit of a wobble at the end, and certain stuff went on behind the scenes which I wouldn't have been happy with. 4 or 5 games to go. wasn't very. I was. A couple of people tried to undermine me, and I wasn't having it. So we ended up getting what we deserved. We deserved to go up that year. We were the best team in the overall over the season.
We've just seen an image on screen of you now with Dundalk in recent weeks. How different is the football club now, 10 years on, to when you left it?
Well, night and day, Jamie. I mean, it's a not saying it wasn't a proper football club then, because Dundalk always has been a proper football club, but the infrastructure, the professionalism of it. I mean, they've appointed a new chief executive it was with Brentford for 7 years. Mark Devlin's joined us there 2 weeks ago. I mean, even speaking to him, I mean, he's coming from where there's an industry. We don't really, let's be honest, we don't have an industry here, unfortunately. Certain people are trying to change it, the owners of Dundalk being one of them. But I mean, the facilities that we have up there now, I don't know, you know, the media, I'm sure we'll get to see it, but the infrastructure facilities, the training facilities that we have, the environment for players to thrive it's just unbelievable. And it's great to be part of it. I didn't expect it, but I'm certainly enjoying it, learning, trying to help, and it's been really, really good, really, really good.
Yeah, like I haven't been up on the far side where the new, you know, first team centre or performance centre is. I've seen a couple of snippets on Twitter, one being the new video analysis room, which is nearly finished. And
it's finished. We're in it.
Okay, nice. And also I just saw an image with the purple jersey for Temple Street on the seats in the dressing rooms, and they look like the little, you know, like you'd see in England or Man City or whatever, the cabins. For someone like me that hasn't been there, over the far side away from the main stand, there's a huge big
the youth development centre. That's
so
what it was.
Explain to us what's in it.
We have new changing rooms for we use them on training days. Obviously we don't use them for match days, but they're totally revamped. We have a staff changing room, we have a medical room, we have a video analysis room where we can do a lot of hold meetings and do a lot of video analysis and prep. We have a new canteen where we all eat on site and have breakfast on site, and then we also have a state of the art high performance gym. So it's magnificent. We come out of that centre and you either go right to the 4G pitch, or you go left onto a fully manicured grass facility. Actually 1.5 pitches. It's magnificent. So like, you've got everything on site. You pull into an underground car park, you come up the stairs and you've got everything on tap. It's an unbelievable environment for players to thrive in, and hopefully improve, and it'll set standards, and hopefully it'll make it easier when you go to sign maybe more quality players, when they see, you know, even speaking to a few of the English lads that we brought over, they've been at like lower end Division 2 and Division 1 clubs, and they're saying that they haven't seen facilities like it. Yeah,
and I suppose the next thing is to try and improve the actual stands and also the away end, and I'm sure in time the dressing rooms where the matches are held, because they're quite small and old, and it's something I'm not sure. Is there a plan to use the new side, or will you keep the match night over?
The match night will be over beyond now. There has been a little bit of work done on it, and you know, nobody knows better than Dundalk that not up to scratch. But I mean, I think that's part of the new CEO's brief. I think that's going to be his brief. We can only concentrate on the football end of it. There are plans in place to improve the overall infrastructure of the ground. It's not good enough. We know that, particularly for away fans. We're conscious of that. And that's what I was saying to you about an infrastructure over here. We need to, that's the sort of improvements, and maybe some of the leadership that you're looking for from our governing body to help clubs kind of, if you look at the difference between here in the north, Jamie, the grounds up north. Why? Because the government helped them, they're giving grants, you know, all the grounds up there are they put us to shame down here.
Yeah, and I think as well there's a COO, and I saw last night an ad for a new operations executive and operations assistant as well, and there's definitely kind of a team building there behind the team to try and build the football club.
It is, but in fairness, Stephen Kenny has put in Stephen Kenny did a magnificent job there. I mean, let's not get away with the fact is what he achieved there. Him and his staff. Stephen has put the foundations in, and I'm sure he's probably him and Vinny would have spoke about this new complex and had a big input into the way it was going to be developed. So you've got to give great credit to Stephen and the staff that were there. Certainly Peak Six, you know, they're trying to build the football club in the right way. They're trying to give it, first of all, create an environment for not only the first team but all our underage teams avail of the same facility. So our 19s, our 17s, our 15s and our 13s are all using the gymnasium, the canteen. They're using the video analysis room. So that's going to help hopefully up standards, and when you're trying to attract younger, better players, because it's very hard to compete with the likes of, let's say, Rovers have a great model, but other clubs have a great models as well. Pat's model is very, very good. We've got to try, and Bohemians, we've got to try and compete with these to try and get some good young players up to Dundalk and develop players.
Yeah, if we just roll back, John, to like November, December time when the Stephen Kenny stuff was happening with the FAI and you're becoming, back to Dundalk again, what was in your own head in terms of leaving your full-time job, which when you were full-time at Rovers were in the afternoons and you were at Drogheda and stuff, but to actually leave the full-time job and take a 2-year contract at Dundalk as a football coach again?
Well, listen, I obviously went to my job. I have a very good work for a very good company, AFM Ireland, facilities management company. Went to them and basically what I've done is I've kind of put my career on hold as such. That I wouldn't have been able to do the Dundalk thing if I hadn't done that, because unfortunately, as I go back to what I say, there's no industry here. So why would you give up? I'm 55 now. I have a very, very good job. But they facilitated me, which meant I was able to give the commitment to Dundalk, because I wouldn't have done it any other way. Like, people are saying, well, will he go in? How often will he be in? I'm in when we're in, I'm in. So it was either all or nothing for me. And I think anybody that knows me, that's the way that I work. So it's been interesting. It takes a bit of getting used to. You have a bit more spare time in your hands, but it's been very, very, very busy, because there's not a lot of stuff that's been going on up there, like trying to improve things and trying to help with the infrastructure improvements. It's been busy. Yeah.
Now, I'm not interested in talking titles and you and Vinny and Rory Higgins, but talk to me about the week of the Dundalk staff and how busy you are, because it's a real full-time environment. Training, you're around in the gym sessions, you're doing video stuff. We spoke to the people from Instat a couple of weeks ago about the amount of work that goes in there, and it's not just arrive at 10 o'clock, take a training session and go home at 11:30.
No, our schedule, we're in Monday morning, but we'd be there a lot earlier than the players, so we'd have a meeting Monday morning to plan out the week, meet the medical staff. We've a medical team up there as well, so we meet, and we've had to. They've probably been the busiest people in the club so far this year because of the injuries that we've had. It's well documented. But we plan out the week, what we need to get done, who we're playing. We train Monday, Tuesday, do double sessions Monday, Tuesday. We're off Wednesday. Come in Thursday, train Thursday, do a video session, an analysis session on Thursday afternoon. We have a match Friday, and then we're back in. We split it up. We have 2 recovery groups, one in Dublin and one in Dundalk on Saturday, 9:30. So it's full on. You're off Sunday and Wednesday, but you're not really off because you're in contact. Management team will be in contact all the time, either planning, pre-planning. We also have Stephen O'Donnell involved. Stephen's looking after our match analysis now and scouting. So Stevie comes in on the Thursday and he would present any match reports that he's done on our opposition, along with the rest of us. So it's busy. It's run very, very professionally. And the fact that you have got more time means you can get more done. Hopefully, you can go into detail, the smaller, finer details that you need to get into.
Yeah, you mentioned the words management team there, and that's something that every club has. When you were with Trevor Crowley at Shamrock Rovers, for example, or at Bray, when you were with Pete Mahan, when you were with Dermot Keeley or whoever else it might be, that it's a management team, and that's something that there has been a lot of commentary on. But it's yourself, Vinny, Rory Higgins, goalkeeping coach, physio, whatever else, S&C coach, between the lot of you, looking after the group.
It is, and that's what it takes. A team. No one man can. The way football has gone now, or it's very hard for one man to maybe single-handedly run a football club, particularly a football club as big as Dundalk. So everybody helps everybody. You need a good environment. You need trust. You need respect, and everybody brings something different to the party. I'm probably the elder statesman of the group. Certainly bring the grey hair. The grey hair stakes to the fold. But it's been really good. I've been like the management team. It's a very young management team up there. It's been invigorating. I'm learning off them. I'd like to think they're learning off me. And they're big shoes to fill, because Stephen did a magnificent job there. I mean, it's very, very. He's a big character to follow. But I think we're making a good fist of it. We've had a couple of problems along the way, a couple of bumps, because of mainly down to injuries, and we haven't harped on about it. We've had injuries to crucial players, not only the 3 well-documented, well-known players, but the likes of Sean Murray's been carrying a knock. Michael Duffy at various times has missed games. John Mountney was out. So we've had a huge amount of injuries to contend with. Just unlucky. That's the way football goes. Hopefully we're getting over them now. We have a brilliant medical team up there as well. So I think when we get our squad back and get everybody back fit and well, we will definitely kick on.
Yeah, and the mix of the staff as well. Like when you would have worked, for example, at Shamrock Rovers and Bray with Trevor, you would have split the coaching because he likes to do all the coaching himself. I'm sure when you're with Pete Mahan, he maybe didn't do so much coaching, you did all of it. How did it work with yourself, Vinny and Rory, in terms of the actual work on the grass? Because I see a lot of the time Dundalk are putting a lot of stuff on Twitter of you guys on the coaching pitch.
We kind of split it up between us. Again, we haven't had too many people on the training pitch. That's the problem, Jamie. The last few weeks we've had 11, 12, 13 people, like 13 bodies, because we've had that many injuries.
Yeah.
And again, people will maybe equate the injuries to it's nothing to do with the pitch. A lot of them were very serious injuries. They were leg contact injuries. So we kind of work it out. We've a brilliant medical team as well. Danny Miller, very good. We've actually lost the strength and conditioning coach to Arsenal, would you believe, only there 2 weeks ago, and we've replaced him with a guy called Graham Norton. But the strength and conditioning coach would do a lot of the gym work with the lads. He would focus on that. We would obviously be there, but on the pitch we kind of split up between us, and it's running quite well.
On the pitch, your most recent game on Monday, late drama, Patrick Hooban penalty, literally almost the last kick of the game, a foul by Paddy Kirk from Bowes, and pressure on Patrick, and he scored his 5th goal of the season to secure a 3 points victory in the last minute.
It was a lot of pressure on it. We kind of, I wouldn't say we played badly on Monday. We kind of huffed and puffed. You've got to give Bowes a lot of credit, a lot of energy in the team. They made 7 changes, very energetic. It's well documented. They've got a great crop of young players, young hungry players there, who were a credit to their manager and their coach on Monday. We dug in. We played some good stuff on possession stakes. We had probably a little bit more possession than them. They had more chances than us. Football, sometimes you need a little bit of luck, and that's hopefully a little bit of luck that we need and we deserved on Monday. We could have had a penalty against Shamrock Rovers in the game in Tala in the last minute, and we didn't get it. So, look, football doesn't go in straight lines. Moments can change seasons and change directions of seasons, and hopefully on Monday that's what it was.
What have you made of your old club, Shamrock Rovers, so far? They're currently 10 points ahead of Dundalk, albeit you guys do have a game in hand, but they've been really good.
Very, very good. To be honest with you, Jamie, we haven't really focused on them. And you might think, I think more the media have been focused on them than we have. We're focused on ourselves because we've enough to contend with at the moment with the problems that we've had injury-wise. They've obviously got off to a great start. Shows you the benefit, and you alluded to it earlier on there with Luke. I mean, this time last year there was banners out for Stephen Bradley. Same guy is there now. It proves to me that if you give a guy time, give him the resources to do the job, back him, it'll come. Football is usually good if you're good to it, and Stephen has done a great job there along with the staff. So it's good for the league, and some people might like me saying that, but you need a strong Shamrock Rovers to have a strong league, and it makes it interesting, makes it people talk about it. The last few years it's been Dundalk and Cork, so it's good to see other clubs coming, stepping up to the mark.
Is this a time in Dundalk for people to remain calm, given you've just said the last 4 or 5 seasons it's been Cork, Dundalk, and if Dundalk were second, Cork were top, and if Cork were top, Dundalk were top, Cork were second. This season for both clubs, it's not been the case, albeit we're only, 1 series in. But I'm sure you wouldn't want to be looking at the table now, given, that Rovers have started so well and you guys maybe haven't.
Yeah, listen, I think you're right. I think a little bit of calmness is needed. Have we been playing to our full potential? No, we haven't. We realise that, but the group realises that. They're a very honest bunch of players. There's a good, honest bunch of staff. Yeah, I would say that you do need to be patient. You've got to realise what you're following as well. They're massive shoes to fill. But in fairness to all I can tell you is the 2 young coaches that are there now are going to be top coaches. They are top coaches. They're really good guys. Their football knowledge is excellent. You add Stevie, O'Donnell into that as well. I think we're going to be okay. We'll go about our business quietly. We weren't jumping up and down after the injuries. We just got on with it. We produced some really, really good performances. Unfortunately, maybe caught up in us the last couple of weeks, and got a couple of other injuries on top of that. But we're not panicking. I think, and certainly the players aren't, because they've been in this situation before. It's sometimes maybe you're better off being the hunter than the hunted.
Like, as well, look at the league. There's 10 games played. It's only 2 league defeats, but Rovers have been so good that and they managed to build the points that you guys are now trying to chase. So it's a scenario that Dundalk in recent seasons, they're in it once with Cork, but apart from that, it's kind of always been Dundalk top. But you've just used that you're now trying to chase them. Does that add an extra importance to the likes of games like this Friday against Finn Harps, where 3 points is an absolute must?
Listen, you've got to be honest and say it is. Every game is important, but more so now. We realise that, but we're more than confident that we can. With our players coming back, we got McElhaney and Shields back on the pitch tonight. They're 2 massive players for Dundalk. These are 2 guys that have played in the Europa League stages, so they're massive players, very talented players. So we have them back, and this, Robbie Benson's 2 or 3 weeks away from coming back from training. We've got Mountney back fit. Murray missed last week through an injury, but hopefully he might be available for selection on Monday. So when we get everybody back, we know we're as good a match as for anybody. But what we're going to try and do now is just focus on game by game, block by block. You put in building blocks, try and build block by block. Not really worry or look too much, because if you do, it can drag you down. So you focus on yourself. You control what you can control yourself. We can't control what other teams do. We've just got to focus on Finn Harps on Friday, win that game, then focus on UCD on Monday, and that's the way you've got to do it.
And is it something that as a management team you have to look at? You've got Friday, Monday last week, Friday, Monday this week, Friday again, obviously, to look at loading and look. I know the players all wear their GPS vests and be able to see, right, well, Sean Gannon, for example, has played 90, so he needs to, in training this week, maybe not do a double on a Tuesday or whatever, because even though Dundalk probably have the biggest squad in the league, you're looking at going, it's 5 games in 14 days. Well,
we had the biggest squad in the league if everybody's fit, but we haven't had everybody fit. So you're right, you do have to take into account loading, and we made changes on Monday. Not necessarily. Yes, somewhere obviously because of the 2 previous performances, but we also were trying to maybe keep people fresh, not overload people. You're looking at where people are physically, and as you say, we have all the data on that now. That it's gone so scientific now that it's a great tool to have. So we probably will. There's no doubt that on Friday there will be changes probably on Monday to freshen things up. But let's get Friday out of the way first. That's an important game. We want to get 3 points and make sure that we're doing our business right, taking care of our own business.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier on with Luke about football fans and the word supporter and then not necessarily supporting the team. And after the Pats game and the Sligo game, I'm sure there were some Dundalk fans having a moan. Is that something that you guys listen to and stuff, or is it just something you need to go, right, listen, everybody in the group knows we haven't played well in those 2 games, we need to just get the head down, back to training and have a go again?
I have to say the majority of the fans, the vast majority of them, have been magnificent. They've really backed the team. I mean, they really got behind the team last Friday, and it was a disappointing performance last Friday, well documented, but the vast majority of the people that are there were magnificent. You're always going to get a minority who will, no matter how well you do, will be critical. But Dundalk is a real football town. They're proud of their club, they're proud of their team, and they've been magnificent this year. Has there been a little bit of tension? Yeah, there has been, but that comes with the size of the club and maybe the results. But the players are big enough and experienced enough to deal with that. So are the staff. We just focus on ourselves. Sometimes when you don't play as well as you should, you deserve criticism, and you've got to be able to take it on the chin. Maybe as you get older, it doesn't affect you as much. But I think the players know we didn't hit the levels we should have in the 2 previous games, and we're working hard to rectify that. And we started that on Monday. Hopefully we go again on Friday and up at another level.
Yeah, because I just think football fans, I'm sure most of them do realise the expectation level inside the teams is as high and higher than the fans, and Dundalk don't want to lose to Pats and then lose to Sligo, but it's something that I'm sure just that expectation level among yourselves is a disappointment too.
But the players, I've got on record, they're an unbelievably driven bunch of players. I've never worked with a bunch like them before, Jamie. They're even in training, I said it in 5-a-sides, you want to see how competitive it is. They just don't like losing anything. Anything that we do, even in the gym, they're so competitive. They're looking at each other, what they're doing in the gym, what one is lifting, what another's lifting, and even down to the GPS. You were saying about the GPS that we wear, even speeds. There's competitions who's the quickest, and so that creates a really competitive environment. They're a very the majority of these players are multi-league winners, and they want to keep winning. They're serial winners, and it's very much player driven. The players drive this on as well. Now they need, they do need direction, but it's a very player focused, player driven environment, and it has been in Dundalk for I think 6-7 years anyway. Now that's great credit down to Stephen and Vinny signing the right quality of player and the right character of player, and that is still in the group. Has it been disappointing the last couple of weeks? It has been, but as I said to you, we worked very, very hard on the training pitch. Some people may say that we were lucky on Monday. I don't. You make your own luck. We played very well in patches. Could we have done better? Yes, we could have. But at the end of the day, we got the 3 points, and that's what it's about.
John, just lastly, spoke a few weeks ago. We've had a few managers on this year and spoke to about the pro licence and Bray and Gary Cronin and the different managers he worked with as an assistant and what he kind of learned from them. And I'm just looking earlier on, he worked with Dermot Keeley, Pete Mahan twice, Trevor Qualley twice, and Trevor would be very different to Pete and very different to Dermot and stuff. And you've managed a couple of times too. across all that experience, like what sort of different things did you pick up from those people, and maybe, you know, seeing Trevor work as opposed to Pete and Dermot, who would be very different, but I'm sure you're trying to pick bits from all of them, plus the pro licence and your own experiences to make yourself the head coach? Like,
listen, I've been very lucky to work with the quality of people you've said, and vastly different characters. I mean, Dermot was unique. I don't think Dermot didn't even have a Blue Peter badge, but he worked from experience. He worked with probably the best manager, along with Stephen Kenny, Jim McLaughlin. So Dermot would have had a lot of McLaughlin's traits. Very organised defensively, knew how to set up a team, big on discipline. You know, but one thing about Dermot, if you did it for him and you worked hard, you'd be the best in the world. If he saw you flagging, or if he saw you trying to, you know, not at it, he could make life. I've been in the dressing room when there's been a few eruptions. Pete, again, people have probably a different idea. Pete was probably one of the most innovative people I've worked with, as regards always looking to get an edge. Very, very professional. A player's manager. I think that was seen by the way that he handled the situation and passed that time with the European bonus thing, and that was a difficult period for Pete, and in fairness cost him his job in the end, because I felt he had done a really, really good job there. When we went into the club, it was fighting relegation on a massive budget. Kept them up. He kept them up, and then the following year on a meagre budget, qualified for Europe, got into the semi-finals of the FAI Cup, got to a Setanta Cup final, done really, really well. If you speak to any player, and I know you've spoken to a lot of them, Jamie, if you mention Pete Mann, they'll tell you what kind of a man he is, a man of integrity, man of great principles, but also massive football knowledge. Trevor, and I didn't know Trevor until I met him, until I went into Rovers. People might think I did. I didn't. Become a very good friend of his now. We're actually friends. But Trevor Crowley is probably, certainly, of all the managers I've played for, and again, I've said this to Pete and said to Dermot, he's way above it. And that, if you know, because he's so clued in. He knows the game so well. He's so organised. His knowledge of the game, the way that he puts it across. I think he's firm but fair with players, and certainly, you know, I've been saying this. To me, Trevor Crowley should be involved in our national game here in some way. In my view, that's my only opinion. And again, if you speak to players that have worked with him or staff that have worked with him, I think they'd all say the same thing. Again, with the even the Dundalk now, the two boys that are there now, two very, very knowledgeable, good young coaches who are going to have massive futures in the game. So I've been lucky. Probably around too long, but it's like a drug. Football is like a drug. Like, I mean, I thought it was done after after we got relegated with Drogheda. It was a tough period. It didn't go particularly well for various reasons. Recruitment probably being the biggest one, because we had a very good season the year before. Pete had and turned to some very good young players who are still there now, by the way. 7 or 8 of the players that Pete and myself signed are still there now and reaping the benefits of it now. I thought it was done, but then I got a phone call and you know, the rest is history. But I'm there to help. You know, and obviously, I have something that people, you know, respect, because I've been asked by people you've been speaking to get involved in football, and I'd like to think that I have got a good contribution to make. I'd like to think that any people I've worked with, players, some will probably say different, but the majority of them would say, yeah, good guy, knows his stuff, and I'm enjoying it.
And just lastly on that, like, to go from like a manager to an assistant to a manager, and you mentioned there, like with Trevor, like he was the assistant with Pats, managed Rovers, managed Bray, and is now the assistant at Bowes. But it's probably, like, I like to look at, like, you know, Keith Long as manager and Trevor as head coach, because he's doing a lot of the coaching stuff, and that, like, is that, you know, easy or hard to do, to go from, like, in the case of Trevor, managing 2 clubs, to being the assistant, which he seemed to do fantastically at, and in the case of you as well, you know, managing some clubs, assistant, and now as the first team coach at Dundalk, like?
No, I don't, but then some people pigeonhole themselves, Jamie. Some people feel they have to be driving the bus, and it's you know, they want to manage. To me, first, my biggest is I love football, so to be involved, you know, and I've also dropped down. I've been in the Leinster Senior League with Drogheda United, but to me, first of all, it's about the environment. You've got to have, is there an environment there that, you know, you can improve things, that you can have a good fist of it. There's no point going to clubs where, you know, it's a social club or things aren't being done properly, and it's well documented even in our league. Some clubs haven't done things properly. If you look at last year, to me, titles, I'm not really interested in titles. Can I add something of value to what's there? Can I use my experience to help the environment that's there, go on to bigger, better things. So titles really to me mean nothing, but to some people they mean a lot. To me, no. If I feel I've turned down jobs, I've turned down some jobs because I felt that the people that were there, probably my personality then mightn't have got on, or the way things were being done, I wouldn't have been able to contribute. So I've been very careful about it. I don't just jump from job to job. It's whether I feel I can make a contribution. And then any of the people that I've worked with or any of the clubs I've been with, I felt I have, and I have made a contribution.
So you're not interested in titles of names, but you are interested in league titles, of course.
Well, listen, you'd all love to lead. We all love winning, and I've been lucky enough to win, particularly in the first division. I've six first division winners medals between a player, a coach, and a manager. Winning is important, but to me personally, leaving a place better than when you got there, is to me is more important. I mean, a little thing, even the Rovers thing, the Roadstone thing. I was the one that got the club into Roadstone. So for me, looking back now in Rovers, I can take no Rovers are where they are because of who they are, but I helped in some small way to get them into, the facility they're in now. Not many people that are there know that.
Yeah.
But that's even a thing like that. You've made a contribution.
Great stuff, John Gill. Thanks a million. Best of luck on Friday.
Thanks, Shemmy. Appreciate it.